have some bad news. I need to go. I just got a phone call, and Sharif Sr. has internal bleeding. So
Wait,
know
what?
What's going on.
Do you have to go?
Yeah.
We're looking for Jen Shah.
Mary, I'm not afraid of any of you, just so you know.
Mary is crazy. Shut the up about Mary. Okay, shut up about Mary. I don't give a Do you understand?
From the outside, Jen Shah looked like the perfect Bravo success story. Big houses, luxury cars, closets full of designer clothes, and a role as one of the breakout stars on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She was loud, flashy, and unapologetically over the top. To her fans, she was entertainment gold. But behind the glitz and camera-ready glam was something darker, a trail of lies, fraud, and broken lives.
The Met Gala in Park City at the Shaw Ski Chalet. I love throwing big, over-the-top, extravagant. What's the most you've ever spent on a party at the chalet? Probably $82,000. I've loved jewelry ever since I was a little girl. I love emeralds because they're good luck, and green reminds me of money.
What I've done for the last 20 years is direct response marketing. I make millions. You gotta do what you gotta do for money. I'm like the Wizard of Oz.
Jen didn't just play the part of a wealthy housewife, she built that image on money stolen from vulnerable people. While she threw extravagant parties and bragged about having multiple assistants, prosecutors say she was running a nationwide telemarketing scam that drained the savings of elderly victims and struggling families. And for years, she got away with it, smiling for the cameras while quietly exploiting the weak. What makes Jen's story even more disturbing is how hard she worked to keep the illusion alive. She screamed her innocence, attacked anyone who doubted her, and used every excuse in the book: stress, mental health, even loyalty to her family. But in the end, the truth came crashing down. Her guilty plea, her prison sentence, and the shocking details of her fake luxury lifestyle exposed a reality far uglier than anything Bravo could script. This isn't just another reality TV scandal. This is the story of how greed, arrogance, and manipulation turned a reality star into a convicted criminal. Welcome to the scandalous life of Jen Shah. When The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City premiered, Jen Shah immediately stole the spotlight. She wasn't the quiet one in the corner. She was the loudest voice in every room. Bravo painted her as the ultimate snow-capped queen, bold, wealthy, and dripping in designer labels. She bragged about her massive mansion, her endless closet of Chanel and Gucci. To fans, she seemed untouchable, like money poured into her life as easily as champagne into her glass. But behind the sparkling image was a harsh truth. Much of this lifestyle wasn't built on smart investments or family wealth. It was built on lies and money that didn't belong to her. While viewers admired her as a glamorous businesswoman, prosecutors later described her as a con artist hiding in plain sight. The irony is painful. Fans cheered her over-the-top antics, but the reality was darker. That mansion wasn't a symbol of success, it was a monument to fraud. The designer labels she flaunted were sometimes counterfeit, and the assistants she showcased were often caught up in the same shady dealings. Jen wasn't living the dream, she was selling one. The mask started to crack in March 2021, when federal agents arrested Jen Shah on charges of wire fraud and money laundering. Prosecutors accused her of running a massive telemarketing scheme that targeted the most vulnerable: the elderly, the financially insecure, and those desperate to find new ways to make a living. The scam was simple but devastating. Jen and her team tricked victims into paying thousands for fake business services, websites, coaching sessions, online tools that never delivered. Instead of helping people chase the American dream, she drained their bank accounts and left them with nothing. While her victims were struggling to pay rent or medical bills, Jen was using their money to fund her fantasy life. Luxury clothes, flashy jewelry, parties that cost more than some people's annual salary. Every designer handbag she showed off could have represented a victim's wiped-out savings.
Promise on my kids, on my husband, on my dad. I am innocent. I did not do any of the things that have been alleged against me. I understand everybody needs to process things. I had no idea what the was going on.
I'm coming from a
At
real
this
place.
point-
Are you upset that what they're saying? Is that why you're saying
I'm
this?
upset because my freedom is at question. I am fighting for something bigger.
This. Do any of you think she's guilty of fraud and money laundering?
I love Jen. I don't care if she's guilty or not. I don't care.
Jen told me she's innocent, and I believe her.
And I believe her too. And I want the best for her and her family. And I will be in court every day, and I will fight for her. She's in the fight of her life.
Meredith, do you think she's innocent?
I have no idea. I hope so. I'm not the judge and jury. I'm fighting this. I am innocent.
She's fighting it.
And I will fight for every person out there that can't fight for themselves because they don't have the resources or the means, so they don't fight. I will fight because number one, I'm innocent, and number two, I'm gonna represent every other person out there that can't fight and hasn't been able to.
Why do you think they targeted you?
Because Meredith called the feds.
If there's one thing Jen Shah did better than flaunt wealth, it was deny everything. From the moment she was arrested, Jen doubled down on her innocence. On camera, she screamed, "I'm innocent!" with the same passion she once used to brag about her closet. She painted herself as the victim of a government witch hunt, spinning the story that she was being unfairly targeted because of her success and her heritage. Whenever cast members dared to question her story, Jen turned on them like a storm. She accused her co-stars of betrayal, labeled them liars, and tried to rally fans into believing she was being persecuted. To the public, it looked like another Bravo feud. But this time, the stakes were federal prison. And then, in July 2022, came the whiplash. Jen Shah suddenly changed her plea to guilty. After months of screaming her innocence, she stood before a judge and admitted she was, in fact, running a nationwide fraud. For many fans, it was the final proof that Jen had been manipulating everyone all along. But was it remorse? Hardly. Legal experts speculated that her guilty plea wasn't about owning up to her crimes. It was a strategic move to cut her losses and secure a lighter sentence. Even the judge made it clear. Jen had lived a lifestyle of fraud. The words cut through her carefully constructed Bravo persona and exposed the truth. Jen Shah wasn't a victim, she was the villain. On January 6, 2023, the reality finally caught up with Jen Shah. The same woman who strutted through Bravo reunions in glittering gowns now stood in a federal courtroom, reduced to tears as the judge sentenced her to 78 months in prison. For a woman who built her identity on excess, the fall was brutal.
Jen Shah sentenced to 6.5 years in prison, months after pleading guilty in her federal fraud case.
Housewives star, Salt Lake City star Jen Shah starts her federal prison sentence today.
Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Jen Shah has been sentenced to 6.5 years behind bars.
Even after her sentence was slightly reduced, the humiliation was permanent. Jen went from designer handbags to prison-issued khakis, from hosting extravagant parties to lining up for cafeteria meals. For someone who measured her worth in luxury labels, prison life was the ultimate strip-down. Reports surfaced of Jen trying to adapt, taking part in therapy sessions, dabbling in art classes, and attempting to frame her prison stay as a journey of growth. But no amount of PR spin could erase the fact that she was a convicted fraudster. Her family tried to release statements of support, painting her as a mother paying her debt to society. But for the victims who lost their savings, those carefully written press releases rang hollow. For years, Jen Shah paraded herself as the queen of luxury. Closets stuffed with designer handbags, dripping jewelry, and extravagant fashion statements became her trademark. But when prosecutors raided her home, the reality star's empire of labels collapsed, literally. What they seized wasn't a treasure chest of couture, but a mountain of counterfeit goods. Fake Chanel, knockoff Louis Vuitton, faux Cartier, dozens upon dozens of imitation bags and jewelry. The revelation was humiliating. The same woman who had shamed co-stars for their cheap taste was herself faking the very lifestyle she bragged about. It exposed the truth about Jen Shah. She valued image over authenticity. Her entire persona, the glam squad, the staged Instagram photos, the Bravo show flexing, was a facade. Fans who once admired her confidence suddenly had to face the fact that they were cheering for a scam artist who couldn't even afford the labels she flaunted. Social media, once her stage for dripping wealth, became Exhibit A in her deception. Every post, every handbag shot, every glam outfit was a lie. And fans began to wonder, had they been duped just like her victims, supporting not a housewife, but a con artist in designer knockoffs? Long before the FBI came knocking, Jen Shah's behavior on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City raised eyebrows. She wasn't just dramatic, she was toxic. From explosive meltdowns to screaming matches, Jen thrived on chaos. Viewers watched her throw glasses in fits of rage, unleash verbal tirades on castmates, and create scenes so hostile that even Bravo fans, used to drama, were shocked. Her on-set tantrums weren't just for TV, they reflected the same aggression that defined her fraudulent lifestyle. Fans began pointing out the obvious. Her temper wasn't entertainment, it was a red flag. The woman who screamed her way through dinner parties was the same woman who screamed her innocence in court. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Jen's aggression on camera mirrored the deception in her personal life. She was loud, manipulative, and destructive, until the law silenced her. Behind every scandal is collateral damage, and in Jen Shah's case, that damage landed on her family. Her husband, Sheriff Shah, a respected football coach, suddenly found himself tethered to a wife branded a national fraud. Did he know, or was he blindsided? The question still lingers. Either way, his professional reputation took a hit simply by association. Her children, once portrayed as her pride and joy on Bravo, became unwilling participants in the spectacle. Public embarrassment followed them everywhere. Their mother wasn't just a reality TV star anymore, she was a convicted criminal. For teenagers trying to navigate life, the humiliation was heavy. Reports of marital strains surfaced as the trial dragged on. While Jen flaunted her husband and kids on screen as props in her narrative of family values, the truth was darker. She was secretly defrauding vulnerable people while using her loved ones as shields. Even with handcuffs closing in, Jen Shah never stopped performing. Her weapon? Manipulation. She leaned heavily on mental health narratives, claiming anxiety and depression to excuse outbursts, legal troubles, and even her fraud. While mental health struggles are real for many, Jen weaponized the language of sympathy to soften her image. On social media, she painted herself as the victim of a broken system. Tearful posts, hashtags about family, carefully worded statements about protecting her loved ones. To her followers, it was spun as a woman sacrificing herself. To prosecutors, it was obvious. Jen Shah's motive was greed, not survival. Even behind bars, reports surfaced that she was still trying to control her story, leaking tidbits about her growth journey and new perspective. In reality, it was just another act in the Jen Shah playbook. Create a narrative, control the spin, sell the lie. The contrast was damning. Prosecutors presented a woman who ruthlessly conned the vulnerable. Jen presented herself as a misunderstood mother. But the truth won out. The judge saw through the charade, her victims spoke louder than her PR team, and her manipulations finally hit a wall she couldn't talk her way around. Prison bars. When Jen Shah was arrested, Bravo struck gold, at least temporarily. Cameras rolled as federal agents swarmed, and her downfall became must-watch TV. Ratings soared. Viewers tuned in not just for housewife drama, but for real-life crime unfolding in front of them. But here's the ethical dilemma. Did Bravo enable her lifestyle by glamorizing it for years? The designer labels, the glam squad, the parties, all celebrated on national television, were in reality paid for through stolen money. While victims were losing life savings, Bravo was editing footage to showcase Jen as a larger-than-life character. After her conviction, the industry's tone shifted. Appearances dried up. Promoters didn't want her at events. Publicists refused to touch her name. Suddenly, the Shah Amazing brand was toxic. And Bravo, the network faced criticism for capitalizing on her arrest, while real people were left bankrupt. The scandal didn't just taint Jen Shah, it stained the Real Housewives franchise itself. The question lingers, did the network ignore red flags for the sake of drama and profit? Jen Shah's fanbase split like glass under pressure. On one side, die-hard defenders who clung to her every excuse. On the other, a growing wave of viewers demanding accountability. Petitions circulated online calling for her removal from RHOSLC. Social media feeds flooded with hashtags labeling her a scammer. Sponsorships vanished, event organizers quietly erased her from lineups, and even her merchandise, once a stream of income, collapsed. The harsh realization hit fans hard. They had been rooting for a fraudster. They weren't cheering for a glamorous housewife. They were cheering for a woman who built her empire on the pain of vulnerable victims. The scandal marked a shift in how audiences judge reality stars. In the past, bad behavior might have boosted fame, but fraud on this scale, exploiting the elderly, fans weren't laughing. Cancel culture came hard, and this time, Jen couldn't spin her way out. If there's one thing consistent about Jen Shah, it's her avoidance of accountability. She blamed assistants, she blamed employees, she blamed stress, mental health, even the pressures of reality TV. For years, she pointed fingers everywhere but at herself. Her apologies, when they came, felt hollow, more like scripted PR than genuine remorse. The judge at her sentencing didn't mince words. Her remorse only came after she was caught. And that's the truth. Every breakdown, every excuse, every poor me moment was part of a larger pattern. Dodge responsibility until it's impossible, then play the victim. In the end, Jen Shah wasn't just guilty of fraud. She was guilty of living a life of excuses instead of integrity. Jen Shah's story is more than just one housewife's downfall. It's a cautionary tale about the dark side of fame and the cost of unchecked greed. Reality TV didn't just give her a platform, it glamorized her lies. For years, viewers were sold the illusion of a wealthy, powerful woman, when in truth, it was all built on theft and deception. Her victims lost money, dignity, and trust. Her family lost privacy and pride. Her industry lost credibility. And her fans lost faith in the fantasy Bravo sold them. The lesson is sharp. Greed, manipulation, and fraud will eventually catch up. Jen Shah built a life on lies, and in the end, those lies built her prison walls. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Jen Shah deserves a comeback, or has she burned every bridge? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive exposés. Next up, another Bravo scandal that proves reality TV isn't always what it seems. Because behind the glitter, there's always a darker truth.